Good morning. Actually, good afternoon, everyone. Here we are on day 40. Seriously amazing to believe that we have been naturally sweet. Maybe there's been a few digressions, but that's okay. Today I'm going to go over some of the salient points that I feel are really helpful to review as we come to the last couple of days. And I know that a couple of you have asked about how to move forward. And so I think by reviewing some of these salient points, we'll definitely address that. And actually, a couple of you have asked me if I'm doing one in January, one of the naturally sweet commitments in January, which I think does make a lot of sense because, you know, when we end this commitment on Friday at 6 o'clock, it makes sense to really enjoy our holiday time. And we'll probably need a break after Christmas, and then we'll be right back at it for New Year's. And so obviously a New Year's one makes sense. So keep an eye on the website. I think I'll do something, probably a short one, maybe just 7 days to kind of get us back on track in the beginning of January. But in any case, what I'd like to review now is, you know, there's all the negative stuff, obviously, about what sugar is doing to our bodies. And I think it's really quite clear that it's doing a lot of damage. It's a slow death and pretty sweet for many decades. But, you know, we have to wonder, like, where would we be if we weren't constantly barraging our metabolic system with all of this added sugar? And really, we're talking about food processing here. And so a simple move away to highly processed foods is going to bring us better health. And also, if we think about the two organizations, certainly that I know of, because there is no organization in Canada that has restricted or set limits on sugar, remind ourselves of what those limits are, which is 5 teaspoons a day for women, 9 teaspoons a day for men of added sugars. I really reiterate that. We can eat fruits, and there is sugar in vegetables, although it's very low. So think about those as limits for continuing onward. Also reminding ourselves that we have very likely been eating way more than those limits on a daily basis for many decades, depending on how long we've lived. I think I always mention in the commitment at one point that I pretty much grew up on Pop-Tarts for breakfast and daily walk to the store to buy candy. So I'm sure that I, over my lifetime, have really stressed my metabolic system. Obviously, I've exercised for many years, and that does balance things out to a certain extent. But, you know, I do often wonder if maybe those limits are something for us to aspire to right now, but maybe even considering going lower than those limits. So there are so many ways to move out of this commitment into the holiday season. One is to consider committing to the daily recommended limits. So again, 5 teaspoons for women, 9 teaspoons for men. That would pretty much be done in a couple of cookies. Maybe that's all we need through the holidays, is a couple of cookies every day when we're out visiting someone. And whenever we're at home, to make really genuinely healthy choices for ourselves so that we can indulge when we're out with friends. Another suggestion that I have is to really think about the quality of what you're eating. So I love homemade jam. My son sent me home on Monday from Victoria with 2 jars of his homemade jam, a blueberry and a sour cherry. And I really look forward to enjoying those jams because I know they were, first of all, made with love, and that the blueberries and the sour cherries are probably amazing quality. I do also know that jam can set me on a bit of a downhill, sliding, the slippery slope, so to speak, in terms of if I have jam on my toast in the morning, then I often find myself craving a sweet after lunch, maybe a sweet at 4 p.m. So I know for me, that jam intake will have to be kind of followed by some kind of commitment that was my sugar for the day. And we know for sure that exercise improves our insulin sensitivity, and improved insulin sensitivity is something that we are striving for. We definitely want to be sure that our body is sensitive to the insulin so that we we can uptake that sugar as soon as possible. And exercise really improves that. So if we think about exercising to balance out not necessarily our calorie intake, but to balance out the kind of sugar that we're bringing into our bloodstreams. So really valuable to take even a short walk after any meal, but particularly after a meal that's had free sugar in it. So when I say free sugar, that means added sugars. I think that that's one of the best things that we can do over the holidays, is to really bring those walks in, to continue those walks. So the walk was part of our commitment. The walk with a 1-minute interval was actually officially part of our commitment over these 42 days. And I do hope that you've been able to find the time to do that. And I think the idea of the 1-minute interval is to actually lessen the load of that time investment that we've had to make. So figuring out where you can fit a walk into your schedule. If there's one thing I love about Christmas Day when all the stores are closed, is that I see just dozens upon dozens of families out walking, because that's their only option for activity together. And, you know, it's clearly bringing them so much joy. And there's pretty much always a time in these days to schedule a half hour, 20 minutes, an hour to get out with, if not all your family, at least a few family members. So going back to our salient points, limiting the sugar intake, the free sugar intake, to at least the American Health Association and the World Health Organization recommended limits of 5 teaspoons a day for women, 9 teaspoons a day for men. Incorporating exercise into your day, hopefully getting outside. Obviously, everyone probably knows that I'm a huge believer in getting outside. It's just something about stepping outside, fresh air, the sunshine on our face that makes a big difference to our mood, moderates our blood glucose levels, improves our insulin sensitivity. So if we can do those 2 things alone, we definitely will be setting ourselves up for success over the holidays. And then we can consider if we're going to go back to a more restrictive diet with even more reduced sugar as we get through the holidays. The other thing I want to remind everybody about, and I've probably beaten this to death a little bit in the emails, is the power of habit. So we know, as I said in that email today, that sugar is messing with our metabolism and messing with our biochemistry. So really powerfully affecting our ability to make the decisions that we want to be making, to be the best that we can be, to feel the best that we can. And to understand that at some point, this is above and beyond our ability to step in with our willpower. And so to get back to those habits where we're getting daily exercise, we're eliminating sugar, it's just basically, and I've used this word many times, non-negotiable. And it is amazing how that power of habit really kicks in. I mean, it used to be that I would go to a movie theater and just automatically order a popcorn. And, you know, a long time ago I liked pop, but I actually don't enjoy pop anymore. And then it became a rule, basically, a personal rule, that I was going to go to enjoy the movie, the film, and not the food product that was being served there. And so it's become kind of non-negotiable, that's just what happens. And in that sense, non-negotiable, really easy, because it's not even a choice for me anymore. It's not even like it exists as an option. And I don't say that in a way that's, you know, kind of holier than thou. It's more just that this is the habit that was created, and it makes life genuinely easier than thinking that is an option for us to choose from. So the power of habit is remarkable, and I would encourage you to maybe write down what kind of habits you see in other people that you admire and that you would like to bring into your own life. And some people's habits may just seem way too restrictive for you. We all have those limits, and we all need to know ourselves well enough to say, that's not going to work for me. So if you write it down, it becomes more powerful. If you've made the decision, it becomes more powerful than if it's prescriptive. And it really is about finding joy in what you're doing. And so I know for me over the holidays, it will definitely bring me some joy to partake in a few of the hand-baked goodies that, well, I always make as part of family tradition, and that some of my family members make as part of that family tradition. And to also understand that if I exceed a certain point, it actually loses its sense of joy. So taking those 20 minutes, and that was in today's email, or maybe yesterday's email, to take the 20 minutes to really understand, to really genuinely listen to the body and understand if I've had enough, and if another bite is going to bring joy or if it's going to bring a bunch of discomfort. So that biochemistry is so important to understand. It eliminates that sense of shame that we've somehow failed ourselves. And it also makes us understand that the food industry is actually out there to sell more food product. It is not out there to make us healthier, despite labels that say naturally healthy. That's not their purpose. Their purpose is to actually stay in business. And of course, we all have to make a living, so that's perfectly understandable. But there are many other ways that we can support businesses so that other people can make a living. And we can also support ourselves by, buying unprocessed food from farmers who've dedicated their lives to growing it. Searching for those places in Canada is obviously difficult through the winter months, but we do still have some options. So finding that place of joy, understanding that any restrictions that we make on added sugar is really not about restriction, it's about bounty and abundance of good health and emotional well-being. So I think that at that point, I will probably sign off from this live broadcast. And I hope that the live broadcasts have been helpful to you. If not, I'd love to hear your feedback for anything else that you'd like to look for in these commitments. I will be definitely setting one up, a shorter one for January. So your feedback really helps me to help you. I hope that you all have a really lovely holiday, and you'll be hearing from me up until Friday for sure. And until next time, bye-bye. Just not being able to figure out how to actually exit from this. So we'll try again.